if you're a business owner and you're making, let's say, 10K, 50K, you have some process in place. You kind of want to know, you kind of know what the next step is,
Hmm.
but you're not fully sure what that is and how it looks like. So
This is Doc Spencer Coaches. Today, I have a guest here who is a mindset coach for business people and entrepreneurs. He's got a pretty big background since he was a teenager. He's been studying some spiritual mindset principles from mentors that you can call it an oral tradition has been passed down to him, and learning to read energy and do pranic healing. And over time, he got into basically a more practical side of life, IT industry, as we all know, it's pretty much rules the world now. And during that time, he did coach some people just, on the side for free. And then he did some traveling. I believe it was Aruba and Japan,
Aruba, South Korea.
South Korea and Aruba 4 months at a time. And he came back and asked, well, what do I want to do? Then he realized cybersecurity is a hot item and decided to go into that. But his calling was really into coaching people, transforming people's minds. And that's when he really got committed to becoming a mindset coach, really, for entrepreneurs. So he is from the Netherlands. Thank you so much, Osman. Welcome to the Doc Spencer podcast.
Thank you for having me here, Doc. Sorry, I want to say Spencer, then my
You
mind
can
is like
call me
Dr.
Spencer. That's
Spencer.
fine.
I thank you for having me here.
I
It was
got it.
really refreshing talking to you before we got started. It gave me a bit to know what you do and how you do.
Who is this guy interviewing you?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm glad you explained that you introduced yourself.
Yeah, where I'm coming from. I like to promote mindset coaches because there's so many different perspectives on mindset. And I have a background. I lived in a yoga center and studied with some Buddhist teachers. And the Buddhist mindset is really the basis of modern psychology, how our thoughts create things, how our perception, how we react to what we perceive, how we react to what we see, taste, touch, hear, and smell. And really, that's what Tantra is about. You get into the emotional reaction to the five senses and how to transform the emotions. And a lot of Buddhists are very intellectual. So, but they don't get into like metaphysics. And I'm into metaphysics. I lived with a Native American medicine woman a while back and understand the multidimensional aspect of herself. But I wanted to keep this more revolving around more practical applications of coaching. And just from talking to you earlier, you really have an intuition about people and about circumstance. Now, what actually got you started in the sense of um, where you're at now? Because you mentioned that you have to, before it could be word of mouth and DMing people, but now you realize there's got to be marketing. And where are you now with the coaching?
Thank you. I forgot to explain one thing. One of the reasons I quit my IT cybersecurity job, which was paying well, is because I wanted to build an orphanage.
I see.
And that's actually my biggest drive. It's not the freedom, the money, it's building the orphanage. And I realized if I get into the business world, I can leverage my network. I can leverage the money that I will be earning more than the cybersecurity and build this orphanage faster than if I stick to my cybersecurity job.
I see. I got it. You really want to help the children.
They need to be safeguarded, kept, and told the truth so they can decide. But
Yeah,
the world is constantly indoctrinating all of us. One side says this is the good indoctrination. The other one says, no, this is the bad indoctrination. So I just want to show the kids the real side and have a safe haven for them to grow up.
that's your legacy.
Yes.
I got it. I got it.
Going back to the marketing question. So I started 2 weeks ago emailing my list. Started. That's something I have been putting off for a long time. So I started email marketing, created lead magnets. That's something I have been putting off. Together with the email marketing, I also started the lead magnets to collect the emails. Depending on how that goes, we want to also run ads for the lead magnets, see how that performs. Those are the things that I have been honestly putting off for 2 years.
Mm.
And that's where I'm now getting slowly back into it, more serious, more committed.
Yeah, COVID solidified the online reality. It's not just an option, it is the option, and we're not going back. So it changed the world of marketing, it changed the world of business. It enabled us to communicate. You're all the way in Netherlands, I'm in California, and people, through the technology, we can connect, and I find it amazing. So
Same,
tell me
same.
more about your coaching. What do you do? Because you went over it um a little bit before the interview. You're basically advising, you're shifting perspective along with strategy, because if you only give the strategy, their mindset doesn't change, and that self-doubt may still run their show. And talk a little bit more about that.
So it took me about 16, 17 years to develop because I put everything now into one package that I call the 3 C's.
Mm,
The first is clarity, the second C is confidence, and the third C is consistency.
mm-hmm,
If you're a business owner and you're making, let's say, 10K, 50K, you have some process in place. You kind of want to know, you kind of know what the next step is,
mm-hmm,
but you're not fully sure what that is and how it looks like. So when you don't have a clear outline for your brain starts to calculate everything that even don't matter. Let's say
mm-hmm,
you want to double your revenue. Your brain goes, I'm working now 40 hours. Does that mean I have to work 80 hours?
mm,
Does that mean I have to take unpleasant clients? So
mm-hmm,
these are the things that your brain naturally goes looking for. But when you're like, hey, I want to double my revenue in these conditions, your mind is then designed to, when you're scrolling on the internet, reading something, to say, hey, this is the information we were looking for.
yeah,
So it starts with the clarity. Once you have that clarity, I had business owners who wanted to switch industries,
uh-huh,
but they're like, I don't want to kill my golden goose. And I'm
mm,
like, no, you're afraid to be rejected
mm-hmm,
because you have built something successful. So you can build something else successfully. You just don't trust yourself enough.
mm-hmm,
I'm like, let's say you can't fail. Describe to me how you would do it. And they're describing it. And I give from the business consulting perspective, give them tweaks, give them breakdowns of actionable steps,
mm,
and they go implement. That's the confidence part. And when it comes to the consistency part, we all have it, New Year's resolution or new hype, you jump into it a week later, a month later, it's that you don't even look back at it.
mm-hmm,
This is where what I do is like, hey, how are you spending your day and why? According to that information, I give them new habits. If a creative person says, hey, I'm a creative agency and I need to work after 10 p.m. because I can't work in the morning, nothing comes up. I'm creative in the night. I'm a night owl. I'm
mm-hmm,
like, okay, let's see if that is true. We slowly start to get this person sleep an hour early. And as he gets to sleep early to more natural hours, let's say 10 p.m., 11 p.m., he goes to sleep. A week later, he starts to become more creative in the morning. And
mm,
suddenly, this person who was talking about being night owl, it's like, hey, I'm really productive in the morning.
mm-hmm,
These are the logical side, the actionable sides, but I also give hypnosis for the deeper part of the brain.
mm. Yeah, talk to me about that. Are you working with limiting beliefs? You're working with past memories, emotional blockages created in childhood, like trauma.
Um, so the brilliant question, and I'm hesitated to answer because I don't like to do deep work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to touch certain deep traumas
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that I did that in the past. When I was for free helping people, I did that. It has an effect on me too. I care too much. I start to invest my energy and it starts to affect me.
Mm-hmm.
So
You take it on.
yeah, I have distanced that part of myself. If I take a client on and that situation rises,
Mm-hmm.
what I do is usually do what I can do and highlight the situation and say to my client, hey, listen, you can live your life like this. You don't need to touch this. But if you want to enjoy emotionally the life better, go get help for this part. Because when the thing is,
Refer
people
them
don't
to
realize
like a mental health care practitioner, like a psychologist or social worker.
exactly. So the base of rule for me to recommend anything, even for myself or if I get recommended, it's like, what is your issue right now?
Mm-hmm.
Go find someone who can solve that issue. But look in their clients list, ask them, hey, this is my situation. How many people did you help in this situation to get my ideal situation?
Mm-hmm.
That's that's where the odds of getting what they want increases the most. There are a lot of great
Transformation.
people. There are a lot of great healers, practitioners, experts on the topic, but some have specialized in certain elements, and I rather refer them to that specialist than a generalist.
Right. I get it. I get it.
That's I mean, they love doing it. They got results, and I love to refer people to them.
Well, it's like most coaches want to shift perspective because we see the world through a box made by our reactive mind of just surviving. And we create these survival strategies that we can't see past. And by shifting perspective beyond the survival patterns into the wise mind, we're able to shift perspective to see possibility. And that you can't even explain a strategy, or maybe the client might not be open to it until you open their mind. Then they see the possibility, or they can create their own possibility by shifting their perspective and create their own solution.
No, well said, well said. So in my early years, what I would like to do is like, hey, this is your problem. Go solve it in this way.
Yeah.
And they were happy about it because they didn't need to think and they would go implement it. But then I forgot who it was. Someone said to me, Osman, why are you putting your perspective on them? Let their creativity flow because they
Mm-hmm.
already have some information. Let them come up with the solution. Let them paint in the box. I'm like, that makes more sense
Mm-hmm.
because you're putting the faith, the trust back in them because they're like, hey, this is what I got, what came from me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, go try. Here's a little bit tweaking, maybe, but this is your idea. This is your child. And that drive, that switch gets them to pursue it more responsibly, more with a drive.
Yeah, they're more motivated when they create their own solution.
Yes.
That it's an interesting point you bring up in the coaching industry, the difference between coaching and mentoring. The word coaching literally means mastering, facilitating the mastering of a technique. So, like you go to a baseball coach, they're going to show you how to swing a bat, show you how to pitch the ball, show you how to catch the ball, and then you go do it. Same with martial arts. They demonstrate the technique a few times from different angles, and then you go practice it, and then they drill you in the practice until you master it. That is typically what is known as a coach, mostly in athletics type stuff. But when it comes to life coaching, they don't, for some reason, the coaching industry doesn't see it like that. They see it as let them figure it out themselves. That's what they define as coaching. I look at it as, and then they call, if you're going to give advice and make them follow the advice, and that's called mentoring. And usually mentoring is someone who is more experienced in a certain field and they show you the ropes. Therefore, their advice weighs a lot more. I've been down this road.
Yes.
This is what happens when. Don't make the same mistakes I did. This is how I overcame. Do this and you'll overcome. And there is a resistance to calling those people coaches for some reason. But in my mind, it's all personal preference. You want to call yourself an advisor, call yourself a coach, call yourself a mentor, a consultant. You're ultimately bringing transformation. I don't really buy into the names and labels. That's just my personal perspective.
That was my perspective in 2020 until I started to realize that some people were looking for a mentor, but they called them coach.
Mm-hmm.
So the general public, even some mentors slash coaches online, are using this terminology mixed. Some people are like, in my offer, I'm going to keep you accountable, show you the step by step, and get you done. And people are like, oh, so you're doing mentoring, coaching, consulting. I'm like, is that what you do? You get people a result, and if you need to switch hats, do it. But people were like, some people are like, no, if you're a mentor, you just stick to your line. If you're a coach, you take more on. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay. So
Try to box you in. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I agree we shouldn't stick to the labels, but the labels also help us to identify what a person truly does.
Yeah. Well, you get
So
their approach. Yeah, you get their approach. Yeah, I get it. A lot of I've been through psychotherapy myself, and the style of therapy. I had two different therapists. One would just listen to me, and I was looking for feedback. I wanted advice, but she was a really good listener. I'll give her that. She's a Jungian psychologist, and she would listen the whole time, and she just acknowledge what I say, and then continue listening. And after a while, I was like, "Well, can I get some feedback? I would like some advice." She goes, "Is that the kind of therapy you want?" I don't do that kind of therapy. The therapist, it's the same office. She's like, the next room does that kind of stuff. Would you like to try her out? I would love to. She would give me direct feedback. Okay, this is what you're saying. This is what I recommend. Oh, thank you. Like at that point in time, I wanted to hear just straight up tell me what to do. And I really liked it. And there are other times where it's like, no, 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 let me figure this out. I know you know the answer, but I want to figure it out. I just need to do that for my own sense of whatever self-esteem or whatever it is. I just want to figure it out myself. So I just know in myself that I sometimes I prefer advice, sometimes I prefer let me just figure this out.
correct. And that's the thing as as a coach, when you're helping your client, that's something you have to either be told or intuitively feel it.
Yeah.
And I work with entrepreneurs since 2020. Before I work with everyone. So what I realized with entrepreneur is they don't realize themselves, but they need confidence. And when you tell them I
Mm.
need confidence, they're like, no, dude, I don't need confidence. I'm like, yes, you do. They're like, I don't. I'm like, okay, let me break it down for you. To give you an example, there is a sales guy. He's really good at what he does, and people want him in their company. But he's like, no, no, I work part-time, I make a great living, I don't want. He came to me, he said, Osman, I want to create my own company. And I know how to, but I'm damn not doing it. I listened to him and I said, do you have confidence issues? He's like, no, I can sell ice to Eskimo. I can sell whatever you want right now. I don't need training.
Yeah.
That's how confidence he was. I said, why don't you sell your coaching? It's like, what coaching? I said, you want to be a coach? That's why you came to me. He didn't even realize that he wanted to become a coach. And I said to him, you need confidence, not in the department you're already good at, but in the department that you're not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what would that be? I said, you're now in a safe haven. If you don't close one call, you're not ending up in the street. But when you start for yourself, you're going to get anxious. You're going to get sweaty hands. You're going to doubt yourself because now there is no safety net.
Mm.
That's one confidence that you need. Another is you're going to grow your company. You don't like to be a boss. You don't like to deal with employees.
Mm.
How's that for confidence?
Mm-hmm.
So the
I know that
entrepreneurs,
one. Yeah.
when I mention the word confidence, they look at the confidence as in asking someone, going out, talking to strangers. But confidence is it's a loaded word in my opinion. What do you
Mm.
think?
I think it's just a matter of how much do you trust yourself, and not even just trusting what you know, but trusting that you can learn as you go. When you get comfortable with the learning process, you may not know it now, but you're confident in your ability to learn as you get into it. And not everyone's comfortable with that. And that's where their confidence wanes. And that's the comfort zone versus getting outside of the comfort zone. We're all comfortable, we as human beings, what we know. Even in feeling depressed, some people find that comfortable. Some people find walking around with a chip on their shoulder, being resentful, comfortable because it's familiar. Anything that isn't familiar becomes uncomfortable. So it's not a matter of confidence, it's a matter of becoming comfortable in the unknown. And when you teach a person to be comfortable in the unknown, there's an angst, and there's always an angst because we want to anticipate. You just say, well, what was it like to look at the sun for the first time? Or you haven't seen the sunset in a long time. What is it like to see it after not seeing it? It's like you're seeing it for the first time. And to have that perspective on everything, it's hard to maintain beginner's mind. Zen is really into this Zen mind, beginner's mind. There's a book called Zen mind, beginner's mind, E.T. Suzuki Roshi. But they speak of beginner's mind and always looking at the world with fresh eyes. It's hard because
Yes.
the demands of the world, it's like, what do you know? You're going to tell me you don't know? Like, why do I want to hire you for? It doesn't lend confidence in corporate world for projects and assignments. It's like, you know how to do this, get it done. Want it done by tomorrow morning. And you have to give certainty and express certainty. I had a long time ago, I befriended a medical, she was a first year med student in residency. She would start at 4 a.m. And she said her I don't know what they call them. I guess the doctors that are overseeing them, their mentors would grill them with questions at 4:30 in the morning. And she lived like literally across the street from the trauma center. So all she had to do is shower and just walk to work. And what they told her was, we know it's early in the morning. Your mind isn't all here yet. You haven't even drank your first cup of coffee, and I'm drilling into these questions. And this is how it's going to be in real life. And what you have to do is you never tell a patient you don't know. You make something up and you say it to them with such conviction that they believe you. You just make it up because no patient ever wants to talk to a doctor who says, I don't know, or senses they don't know what they're talking about. So you just lie to them. And I was like, oh my God, like you're trained to do that from year one in your residency. But in some situations, it is required to create the sustenance of the situation. That the rob Peter to pay Paul, the benefits outweigh the cost. That in the end, it's going to work out, even though it doesn't matter how you got there. The ends justifies the means, and it's that mentality. It's gotten us into a lot of trouble too. You know what I mean? But I
Completely.
wanted, yeah, I wanted to ask,
Shoot.
what's the most common challenges you see in businesses today, in entrepreneurs?
So it comes to the same thing that you just mentioned. A lot of entrepreneurs don't like to look bad, so they lie always. How is business going? Great. How is sales going? Great. How is delivery going? Awesome. Everyone is happy. But
Interesting.
as soon as you talk a bit with them, they start to say, I had to put out fire. I might have to fire someone this week or next week. I have this client breathing on my neck.
Yeah.
I have sales calls that I need to close.
They're overwhelmed.
Suddenly they're opening. They're overwhelmed. They're not happy anymore. They have worked themselves. So nobody gets, you probably heard it a lot. We don't have a manual on how to use our brain or our body.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody got a manual to become an entrepreneur. And even if there was, most people like manual, just turn the TV on. That's how
Yeah.
most start their business as well. So they're in this 9 to 5 mentality. They start the business And now they're at the tipping point where their own time is so full, but they're uncomfortable expanding. They don't make enough to hire a new person, or they don't feel comfortable hiring a person. They're like, I don't want to be a boss. I don't want to manage people.
They're solopreneur. They're stuck in a solopreneur mindset.
Yeah. So that's their challenge, going from 9 to 5 to solopreneur, from solopreneur to actually being a CEO,
Mm-hmm.
a CEO who's in their company and then going out their company
Mm-hmm.
and then becoming an investor. The Robert Kiyosaki, the 4 quadrants,
Mm.
they're mostly stuck in the first quadrant, second quadrant. They have their own business, but they have created a successful prism for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple. I talked about one lady, I think it was a month or two ago, and she says, Osman, all these beautiful coaches, especially females that you see, who are happy, pictures and shooting, she's like, there is a great chunk of them who are actually unhappy. I'm like, what do you mean? They're unhappy because of the prison they built. I'm like, again, what do you mean?
Mm.
They want to switch offers, they want to switch industries, they want to do something new. But because they have built their personal identity and their brand around that thing,
Mm-hmm.
they're afraid to go out. Some of them are afraid because if they go out, they will be called, oh, are you a chicken? Are you giving up? Oh, you
Mm.
couldn't survive in this industry?
Mm-hmm.
And others are just, they're just insecure. Hey, if I switch, will I make it? If I don't make it, I come back. Will people still love me, adore me, buy from me?
Mm-hmm.
So because of all these unanswered questions, they stick to what they know and do best, but doesn't
Mm.
make them happy anymore.
They're comfortable with it.
Yeah, unhappy but comfortable, yes.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And that's very common amongst professionals too.
Yes.
They're getting a great paycheck. They're able to pay the bills, buy a house that they want or whatever, apartment, rent an apartment they like, and they just get into a routine.
I want to share one specific story. This is not a person I helped, but I hired one time a high performance coach, and he said 50 minutes, all you get. I'm like, 50 minutes? What can you do in 50 minutes? But he did a lot. He told me this story. He said, Osman, I was the best that you can get in everything. I was best in school. I was best at work. I was best at even if we had a friendly competition. I had to beat everyone. I had
Mm-hmm.
to be number one. So naturally, living in New York, I end up in Wall Street, becoming the best. And he says there was this other guy who had to be the best. And there was 4 other guys who had to be the best. Because when you're the best, you get the most commission. He said the first 2 years were nice. I was living the life, enjoying luxurious girls, booze, everything. What you were seeing in the movies, I was living that life. After 2 years, I didn't feel. I said I didn't know back then, but I didn't feel spiritually fulfilled.
Mm.
I was married, getting married to the girl I loved. We had a child. For 4 years, he stuck to it. He said every competition I had to win, and if I lost, I would be obsessing it over a week to make sure that next time I beat it. I would
Mm.
lose my sleep, my mood, everything.
Yeah.
I wanted to kill myself, he said. But one reason I didn't kill. I'm like, what? Because if I kill, I would lose. I was like,
Mm.
what is that for a mentality? But it's a good one. It kept you alive.
Interesting.
The only reason he didn't commit that suicide wasn't because of his love for his wife, for his daughter, for him. No, it was to not lose. And he got the help that he needed. And he's now helping people to get out of that space, to be able to truly enjoy the family, to
Mm-hmm.
take a notch down and not care about other competitors. He says the only
Yeah.
reason I didn't want to lose was because I that was my identity. If I lost, I was nobody.
Mm. I get it.
So that that made so much impact with me. I remind myself from time to time, enjoy. Because at the end, we're all going to die.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Well, what would you say to the man who actually loves to compete? He finds joy in the competition.
I have respect for the people who love the hustle, who
Yeah.
love to take challenge nonstop. I love that. One thing I tell everyone is anything in your life suffering that you think is worthy? Let's say you love competition, but it takes you all over the world. You don't get to see your child growing up. Right now, you don't realize it, but 3 years later, 5 years later, you're going to be like, I don't need to go to the Olympics. I just want to see my child
Yeah.
grow up. So if they're happy, I'm not coming in to disrupt that. I just ask the question, are you really sure? I
That makes it a
understand.
great question.
I understand maybe for a year or two you're in the scaling phase or you're just hustling to build the company up. I fully respect and go for it. But if you're doing that nonstop, my question is, what are you running away from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they say people who like to hustle all the time, it's actually a trauma response.
60 to 70% of my clients is going through that.
Yeah. This world, a lot of people hit middle age and even in their 30s, before middle age, are just realizing this world it's just empty. There's no soul. What am I doing this for? And they're looking for meaning. And for me, I worked at my first real job, like my first salary kind of job. I was really an impulsive kind of person growing up. I did what I want when I want, and very little responsibility. I was a free spirited person. So when I got my first job and had to show up consistently day in and day out, I was a sole proprietor. So they couldn't tell me what to do. As long as I got my job done, I can do whatever I want. It was like perfect. But something hit me one day. Actually wound up getting in trouble with the law. Hired a good lawyer, got the charges dropped, but it woke me up like I'm taking this too far. The partying, it lapse in judgment. I need to just be accountable. So found out that, long story short, found out that one of the new sales reps tried to have me fired, not just me, but all the drivers. I was delivering orthopedic prosthetic implants. And this guy, Chuck, said, Spencer, come here. You know, Shane tried to get you fired. I was like, what? So you didn't know? Well, not just you, Rick and Rob as well. I was like, man, what the, like, that's messed up. He's like, yeah, I know. Like you've been working here longer than him. He's the new guy and he's trying to have you fired. And that is messed up. Well,
Mhm.
Spence, you don't got to worry about it. Your job is secure. Rob's, I don't know about. Rick, only because he's been working here the longest. But they're not going to fire any of you guys. But Spence, I was really surprised. You know, Anthony, Rob, the other sales reps stood up for you. They said you saved their accounts, their multi-million-dollar accounts several times, like more than once. And if you hadn't done what you'd done, they would have lost millions of dollars. And there's no way they're going to fire you. And it was that moment I realized, well, my work matters. I didn't think it mattered. I'm like the low guy in the totem pole. And that made me feel, I don't want to say important, like I'm better than, but it gave me an acknowledgement. It gave me a feeling of significance where it's like, okay, then my input matters. That gives me reason to work harder. That gives me reason to be a contributor. And instead of just going there for a paycheck, because that's what I did, it was just a paycheck to me. I said, no, I'm not going to work for a paycheck. I'm going to work to be a contributor because it matters. And I'm really going to hold myself to a higher standard. And once I did that, I became much more fulfilled. It didn't matter what I did. As long as I went in it with the right attitude, with the intention to be a contributor and to do what I say I'm going to do to be impeccable with my work, that I know I did all that I can to contribute, then it didn't matter. And a lot of this, like, I don't want to, well, I'll just leave it at that. But did some things for the drivers, just showed initiative, and they wanted to bring me up at a driver to introduce me to sales. That was the ladder in that company, become a sales rep, and they make like 800,000 a year. I mean, it's a really good opportunity. But I didn't feel called into that. I was like, I want to become a chiropractor. I'm a healer. I'm supposed to be helping people heal. That's my calling. And so anyway, That's my story. Just
I
contributing,
liked
you
how
know.
it.
Didn't matter what kind of work I do, as long as I'm contributing, that because that's my value. That's what's important. Now,
Mhm,
that's not important to everybody. I can't say that's what will fulfill you or
mhm.
somebody else, but that's what fulfills me is to find your core value, like what's really important to you, and live from there, and then apply that in any aspect of life.
Exactly. The thing is with people who are just building their company up and they're in survival state. They're like, I need to make this work because I don't want to go back to a living. I don't want to have another
Yeah.
debt. They're in survival. But when they get to the next stage, which is sustaining, but in today's economy, there sustaining is a lie. You
Mm.
have to be constantly growing, developing, because
Hmm.
if you're just sustaining, let's say you have a restaurant and you're trying to sustain one in one city, you're just trying to make it happen. Guess what happens? The others are expanding. Next month, a new restaurant is coming into your city. 3 months later, another one is coming. You might survive because you have been the most there and people are loyal to you. But every year, every quarter, you get new people coming in and trying to take your market share. So when you're, let's say, sustaining doesn't happen anymore, you have to
Hmm.
go into scaling. And when you're into scaling, the emotional aspect of the entrepreneur, of the business owner, healer, practitioner is really important because I ask them this question, why do you work so much? Well, I want to provide for my family. I don't want to say no. I want to make sure that they have everything.
Hmm.
I'm like, great. Do you want to have more time as well? Yeah, I would like to spend more time with my family and seeing them growing up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do you believe that's contradicting? They're like, yeah, because my time is limited and I need to make this much money, so my time goes there. I said, that's not true. You're running away from your family. You can be more productive. I said, give me one task that a year ago, 2 months ago, you could do in an hour, but now it takes you longer.
Mm.
I'm like, well, crafting up offers, sending out proposals after the calls. I'm like, do I want to do this? I'm like, there you go.
Hmm.
You're taking time, family time away from your business. But do you know why? I'm like, no, tell me. I'm like, glad you asked. I'm like, the most underlying reason because entrepreneurs do that is because they feel like a failure. They're like, I should have made this much money months ago, and I'm still
Hmm.
not making it. I'm a failure. Or when you're spending time with your family, you're thinking of business. You're
Hmm.
not being present. And when you are present with your family, like, oh my God, this is actually great. I should do more of this. And as soon as your family time is over, you go back into business and then you start guilt tripping yourself. I should have more time with my family, but I can't. I'm a bad person. I can't make the money.
The guilt trip they place upon themselves.
And then this is where the financial hit takes because they want to bless their family, their wives, their children get out of spending spiral.
Mm.
They see that daddy is just throwing raw money, so they want bigger things, expensive things, newer things. And this guy ends up working more and more, and their marriage gets slowly apart.
Hmm.
We're human. We need emotional connection. We need physical connection. And
Absolutely.
as a husband, as a wife, if you're constantly working and you're not there for your spouse, she's emotionally, or the guy is slowly going to go cold and drift to someone else who's spending more time with them. That's how you get the cheating. That's how you get, even if they don't cheat, they end up bitter. They're like, hey, you never spent time with me. So now they got this marriage thing going on, which fuels their reason to not go back to family because each time they spent more time, they're reminded, you're never for us. You weren't even for the birthday there. We were supposed to go to the in-laws. You never come as if it's my mom. So then they
Mm.
argue.
Hmm.
So it becomes a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's a great movie on that with Nicolas Cage where he's this successful investor and he's got this Lamborghini, he's got this nice penthouse apartment in New York City, just out of this world lifestyle. And then he you can tell he's not fulfilled. Like it shows the way his actor, he's a great actor. He shows it in his character. He goes to sleep and then he wakes up in another life. And he's a manager of an automobile repair center. He's making crap money. He's got these kids running around, blah, 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 a wife that's nagging but loving. And he's like, what the hell? Like, he's so confused. He's like, I want to get back to my life. Like, what the hell? This must be a dream, pinching himself. And then over time, he just surrenders to it. He's in this other life and he just looks around and the scene goes to him where he just looks around and goes, this is much better. That money doesn't matter. I'm making less money, but I got a wife and kids. This is great. This is more fulfilling. Money couldn't buy that. But it wouldn't be wrong for him to go back to that other reality either. It was an interesting dilemma because he at some point in the movie he had a choice. Whatever being, I forgot who was behind it, but it was like you can have that life back, but look at the life you have now. Which life are you happier in? And
Right.
and it was just like money couldn't buy that. You couldn't buy that with money.
That the thing is, we're not equipped with the manual of how we use our mind and how we do business.
Yeah,
That's why we need mentors who have been here. So I grew up poor while my dad was rich. I grew up poor while my grandparents were rich.
I see.
We could eat what we want, but we couldn't buy what we needed
Mm, mm-hmm,
because we wouldn't get the money. And that gave me a perspective. Like I had to work on this myself. To get money, you have to struggle a lot. You have to work hard. Well, people doing day trading in 20 seconds, they can make 5,000 because they sold it at the right time and bought it at the right time. So that's smart work, not hard work. I had to learn to shift that within me. The entrepreneurs that are saying, Osman, my time is limited. I need to make more money so I can, outsource or hire someone so I can spend more time with my family. They have also limiting money belief.
mm-hmm.
So it's
They take on their parents' relationship with money. Money
yes.
doesn't grow on trees, and so you take on the poverty consciousness of the parents.
Yes, and also if you haven't been, the people who have entrepreneurs in their family tend to have more businesses, not necessarily successful. But if
Mm-hmm,
you have a person in your family who's an entrepreneur, they're more likely to stimulate someone else in the family to open a
mm-hmm,
business as well.
mm-hmm,
If someone in your family is rich, you're more likely to look at and being rich, hopefully, because you see a family member
mm-hmm.
or let's say neighbors or someone that's close to you. So it's not
Was
like,
there somebody in your family that was like an advisor, a mentor, or
like I said, for me, we're a lot of spiritual mentors.
hmm,
When it came to the business perspective, again, I followed a lot of my intuition. The times that I didn't follow my intuition at the time I was supposed to follow, that resulted mostly in financial loss. And
mm-hmm,
when I followed my intuition, I maybe gained a little, but the reward that I emotionally and energetically got from it was way better.
yeah, I gotcha. That sounds amazing. I wanted to ask you about, what your program is. How does it work? Is it a certain length of time, or do you just go by, we'll just do one consult at a time? How does it work?
It's 6 months. And the reason it's 6 months is because I want you to see growing. And I know as you're going through, it's like peeling the layers of onion. We can go to the core of the onion and remove it. But as the time goes, the layers fall off. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I take them through 6 months where we have a meeting of an hour each week. And each week is different. But the first 2 months are focused on removing anything that doesn't serve you in business, in personal life, and in your emotions.
Mm.
Like for business, it would like removing the client who's trying to micromanage you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that client might be the best paying client, but it's also the source of your resistance towards scaling. It's also the source of your pain where because you can't rest, enjoy your family time. And
Mm-hmm.
then we look at your personal life. Maybe the biggest obstacle for you is to fall asleep. Well, why can't you fall asleep? Because I'm thinking of that one annoying client. Now the client is gone. Let's work on your sleep. So the first 2 months is really clearing the person up. The third and the fourth month is building a sound foundation. If I'm out of your life, I want you to be able to handle whatever comes at you. So I'm teaching what I know. I'm teaching you the thought process, the way, and installing habits that keep you going, even if it's 1%. So the likelihood of you relapsing back to the old life becomes less. And in the fifth and the 6 months, that's where I'm like, okay, time to scale your company. You're emotionally ready. Let's focus on, hey, do you want to travel the world? Let's focus on that. Do you want to relocate? Focus on that. So whatever they bring each month, we focus on it. But the general rule is going through those 3 stages.
Mm-hmm. Clarity, confidence, and what was the third one?
Consistency.
Consistency. Yeah, that's great. Simplifies it down for 6 months, once a week.
Yes.
How would somebody get in contact with you? Do you have a website or
Yes, I do have a website. It's breaking mental limits with a S at the end.com. Yes.
breakingmentallimits.com? I'll
Yes,
put
that's
that
the
in the
base.
description below the podcast in my YouTube channel when I post this. So are you seeing
Yes.
clients from all over the world or because you're in Netherlands, so who's your primary clientele base?
One so little thing that I forgot to tell you before is when I started at 16, my first client was from Michigan. And from there on, she kept referring. So all my clients were from Canada, America. When I started doing this professionally and charging for, my clients were mainly from America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. I try to stay away from European clients and mainly focus on North America or Southeast, Australia.
I got it. I got it. Interesting. How are businesses in the Netherlands? What's the
In
culture
terms
like
of,
there? Yeah, I mean, are there a lot of is there an entrepreneurial spirit? I mean, America is known as the land of opportunity. Everyone comes here to open up their own business and fulfill the American dream. I'm finding that the American dream, I don't want to say dying, but it's certainly the landscape has changed drastically, where a lot of Americans no longer believe in it. But we have an influx of immigrants who do, and they succeed. They tend to work harder and they tend to be more appreciative. The Americans tend to be entitled. No offense to anybody, but I've noticed that the American dream is not dead. But I just wonder because China is like booming. I mean, I had a patient who owns a $250,000 Mercedes sports car, bought his ex-girlfriend $1 million Rolls Royce. They're no longer together.
all right,
And for him, it's like it's nothing. Took me shooting, showed me the $7,000 rifle. I'm like, you're 19 years old. How are you able to afford this? You're in going to community college. You don't have a career. Obviously, it's your parents. So what do? They own a factory and I'm seeing a lot of wealthy people coming out of China. It's almost like go to China if you want to make money. Same with India. There's like a Silicon Valley in India. You know, a lot of other countries have industries that are growing, and
Right.
opportunity. If that's your dream, you know, to get a job, get married, buy a house, and
Mhm.
that's what fulfills you. You know, there's opportunity where America. Anyway. So I'm wondering what it's like in Netherlands, what it's like in Europe. How is it?
So, great question. What the reason I like to work with Americans, Canadians, and Australians is because they have around them, they can see rapid growth. They could see someone become a millionaire within a short time, as
Yeah.
well as a homeless guy within a short time. They have been exposed to that kind of thing way longer than we have been in Netherlands or
Mm,
Europe in general. It's like,
hmm.
oh, my uncle became a millionaire. How long did it take him? 10 years. It's like, hey, my neighbor became a millionaire. How long took them? Like in New York, they're like a month or two, just trading stuff. So Americans are more acceptance and open to the possibility of rapid growth, from my experience. And when you look at the industry, it's changing. The way that money was made in America was through brick and mortar,
Hmm.
but it's now mainly online. It's
Hmm.
selling, it's creating a store, running a $500,000, selling the store, or just closing the store and opening a next one. Because opening a Shopify website doesn't take you, like in the past, if you want to have a website, could take you 5 months because you have to program everything.
Hmm.
Now building a Shopify for $200, you outsource it to someone in India or Pakistan.
Hmm.
They give you this wonderful template, and now you have a store.
Hmm.
So if you immerse yourself into the online space with the idea of, hey, I'm gonna bite through the dust, see that, and make it work, you can make it work. Those kids that are really young and making big money, that's how they made that money.
Yeah. Direct to consumer marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that seems to be the I keep getting invited by an Amazon store marketing mentor or Amazon store creator mentor. She's in Dubai and lives a very lavish, I don't want to say lavish, but has her own chauffeur and a Rolls Royce and a very down to earth, humble woman too. She's not conceited or, you know, I'm more glamorous, and she's not like that at all. You'd think she is. She looks great. But well, this is not my cup of tea, but I should become aware of it at least. And it is a different business model with very little overhead unless you're the two sides of online business. You're either using an Amazon fulfillment center, meaning you got to buy the product, so you have to invest, you know, 30 grand worth and then hope it sells, and then if it doesn't, you're sitting on this product that you can't sell, and then you got to sell it at a major discount, and even then it may not sell. The advantage of having it stored in a fulfillment center, you're not going to store it in every fulfillment center in the world, only in a certain area. So only a certain area can have a 2 day prime. The other areas cannot. And you just have to live with that. Maybe mark it down for those other areas. The Shopify direct to consumer, I've ordered things from China, the manufacturer, and it would take like a month to get here.
Mhm.
And I was like, who wants to wait a month? But
A lot of people.
yeah, for a reduced price, they're willing to wait, depending on the product. And I thought, wow, that's you gotta be really patient to shop on Shopify because all their stores, all the manufacturers on China. I always wondered about that.
That's
You
it's a
know, what's
profitable
the demand?
market.
Is there
Oh,
greater
it's a
demand
prof.
for 2 day prime, or is there demand equal demand for hey, I'll wait a month, no big deal?
There is a growth stage. I can tell you because I have been in that industry. So the first way to go about it is you go on social media. What is the latest product that has been talked about? You take that product and you go at European, American wholesales. You look if they're selling. If they're not selling, you go to China. In
I see.
China, you can order from AliExpress or whatever, but
Hmm.
you also have specific stores who sell to China, not outside, in market. And they
Hmm.
are way cheaper, but you need a middleman to buy them.
Yeah,
If you have the middleman can ship it to you faster if you're willing to pay for the difference.
I see.
So now you're beating your competitor because you can deliver faster. You
You
can
can,
charge the same price because your middleman is getting it cheaper. And
interesting.
as you grow your store, you tell your middleman, you know what, cut the middleman in your and go to the factory, order now 200. Now your middleman goes to the factory, buys 200, and that 200 he puts in a container ship, send it to you. Now you have 200 pieces in Europe or in America, wherever you want.
Now you got to handle the distribution and packaging.
There are companies who are willing to do that for you and they can ship within the same day. So
So
now
there's
your
fulfillment
delivery,
centers, independent
exactly.
fulfillment centers.
Now your delivery takes less than a week and you
Oh,
have
I
beaten
see.
your competitors. So it
Interesting.
is as you grow, you do that. But it depends on how fast you grow and profitability. There's a whole strategic thinking behind it because some products don't live longer than 2 months. It's
Hmm.
just a hype. You need to be right in, sell as
Mm-hmm.
much as you can, and get out
It's a
before it
fad.
crashes.
Yeah.
Because if it crashes, you're left with stuff in your hand that you need to get rid of.
Interesting. So you coach a lot of these online stores owners.
I have really a big priority of experience through self-learn, through self-experience, but also getting coached or coaching. I have helped people with their stores. I have helped people with their agency. With I I helped a lady who was a money mindset coach. So
Mm.
I helped her to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, because of this really fast, different information, I'm able to put myself and give the person a more concrete market needs advice. It's not like, oh, run more ads. If your consumer is on LinkedIn, why are you running ads on Facebook? People are saying, oh, run ads. Yeah, but what platform? Should you run it in a weekend? Don't run it on Monday if you're targeting C-level CEOs. That's the busiest time of their day. They're not gonna click on that.
Yeah,
So
I
like
get it.
these things are getting technical, but with these right tweaks, you get more out of it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You're able to leverage the availability of different businesses to create a more efficient distribution for the customer.
Correct.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the online business model. So that's news to me. I just learned a lot just from listening to you. This is fantastic. So what's your main way of recruiting clients? You're getting a lot of referrals from Michigan and Canada.
Well, it's not really Michigan, it's the US general.
But well, you mentioned doing online marketing. Or do you have a website? Do you have a podcast? Are you having do you have like a special offer or link that you want to put in here?
So there is, let me check if the link is working that I can share with you. Um,
Yeah, we just want to put it in the description
yeah.
below, besides the website, if there's a sales page. And this way my viewers can get in contact with you because it sounds like you figured something out. If you're really tied in the mindset to the action steps and what causes hesitation within action steps, and also the outlook that your client has is going to affect their sense of self, which then changes their action steps as well.
Oh, very true. I see that as a must. A person need to change with tangible
Hmm.
results and feelings to get
But
the
you
most out
start
of
with
it.
the mindset before you give them tactics and strategy.
Well, I meet them where they are. If they
Okay.
come to me and they're like, Osman, what is my next step? Tell me. I'm not gonna talk about how peaceful the water is. I'm gonna be like, go cut down the tree, come back when you're ready to listen.
It's organic. It depends. Yeah, it's different for everybody.
Exactly. For the link, it's breakingmentallimits.com/family.
Yeah, you can email that over to me, and then I'll get all that information when I post a video on
I will.
Yeah, on YouTube, then I'll put it up there. And I'll
Great. I
send
will
you a
do so.
copy as well. Yeah, no, this is fantastic. I really enjoyed talking even before we started recording. Ladies and gentlemen, um, this is Osman Okumus. I hope I pronounced that right.
Correct?
Osman
Yes.
Okumus. He is in Netherlands, and we'll put his website on the description below the video and in description on the Spotify version as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was really refreshing. Thank you.
Awesome.